boy, we've been through a lot together, haven't we?
Oh my gosh, that bus. I was
You know how
thinking
many
about
times I called her, and you know, we talk about we met before that first dinner because I was doing the Diane Sawyer interview, which was coming up. And to be honest with you, I had never met anybody who was trans up to that point. I never met anybody trans until that day you guys walked in and we had dinner together.
You never met an English professor, actually.
Actually, I will give you this. See, I was a dyslexic kid. I got C's in English just because I had to stay eligible for sports. And I never really got along with English teachers.
I never got along with
admit,
decathletes.
You have become my favorite English teacher. You know, yes, my favorite English teacher. But anyway.
You're my favorite Olympian.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and good night.
That's it.
That's it.
This is, you know, you pat my back, I'll pat yours.
All right, we're good.
But no, we've had a great relationship. I had so much to learn, especially at the beginning, and you've been such, you know, writing on this, reading your book, having the opportunity to get to know you. You've always, although we differ in a lot of things, we always have the same intentions, and that is to do a better job for our community. And that's where my heart lies, so yeah.
Yeah, you're here. Well, here we are at this great cultural institution in the city of New York, and it seems appropriate to begin with a question about faith, in fact.
Okay.
Tell me, how has your belief in God challenged you on your journey, and how has it been a strength?
That's an excellent question.
Seth Meyer didn't ask you that one, did he?
Yeah, because I think you put it both ways. Challenged you. It's very interesting to me. To me, my faith played a very big role in what I'm doing. I am a Christian, and I've always gone to church. Not all the time, and I'm not a devout Christian, but I certainly believe in God. I believe in faith. I think it's a good way for me to conduct my life. And that was always a struggle for me. Growing up, I would think to myself, why did God put all these questions in my head? Doubting myself, doubting my identity, doubting who I was. Why? And that was my entire life. Why did you do this? Is there a reason? Am I doing a good job? You name it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a question, did God, I remember struggling, you know, why did, you know, what was the idea? Was this, you know, I mean, and I remember wrestling with that. And
yes, and I've talked to so many trans women who have any faith whatsoever, which a lot of them do. They're very religious in a lot of ways. And they've all said the same thing. Why? Why me? Why is this thought going through my head all the time? Here's a good question, okay? I'll just take the girls. The guys can do the same thing. Well, I'll just point it to the girls. Girls, I'm going to ask you a very simple question, and I want you to take just a second to think about it, okay? And here's the simple question. When did you know you were a girl?
Yeah, you can hear the audience going, well, always.
Everyone, like right down here in the front, they'll go, wait, right here from Yale, it looks like Yale, giggling like, what? Nobody's probably ever asked you that question, did they? Okay? It's a great question. Kate Bornstein on our show, and she's like, I love Kate.
Who sends her regrets, who's going to be here tonight and couldn't make it, so she sends her love.
Oh, yeah, I know. I talked to her yesterday.
All right, okay.
Yeah,
good.
she's off giving a speech. Anyway, she asked my daughters, Kendall and Kylie, that question. And I sat back and I watched Kendall. And now Kendall, here she is, the #1 model in the world. She had her face just a couple of weeks ago on the entire Empire State Building. And yeah, I was like, are you kidding me, my daughter? You could just see the perplexed look on their face. And Kylie goes, I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me that question. And the reason I asked the question is because that probably was one of the first times you ever thought about identity and about who you are as a person. You've taken it for granted all these years. You just take it for granted. This is who I am. But for a person that suffers from gender dysphoria, being transgender, whatever word you want to use, because there's a lot of words to use here, that's what a trans person goes through every day of their life. They sit there and they can't identify in their head about who they really are as a person. What is inside their soul, male or female? And it just, in most cases, doesn't match with what you have on the outside. The intensity level is different for different trans people, but that question is in your head. It was in my head from when I can remember 5, 6, 7 years old to the age of 65 when I finally transitioned because I just couldn't take it any longer. I had to do something. So that to me always is, I like saying that and asking people that because I think that's what this community is about. It's that question in your head. It's not about sexuality. It has nothing to do with that. It is about who you are as a person. And for somebody who has gender dysphoria, that question will never go away. The question is, how do you deal with it? What is the best route for me to deal with it, to find happiness and contentment in your life?
Yeah, I used to think that I was here, in some ways, that God had positioned me to pose a question to other people. How loving can you be? How much love is in your heart? Do you have the ability to reach out with love to someone whom you really may not understand? And I also thought that for me that it was like God was saying, here's the challenge that I'm setting you, and I want to know if you have the courage to meet that challenge. And I remember thinking, really, a woman? That's what you have in store for me? Like, couldn't I be like, I don't know, an Olympian?
I know. Yeah. I tried that. It didn't work. Well, it worked in some ways. I did win. I broke the world record 3 times, but who's talking about records?
Oh, here we go again with the Olympics. Always with the Olympics.
Who's talking about those? And it's the same. It's the same. I had all those feelings going through me, but in the final thought, in the end, when I talk about faith, the last person besides my family, my close friends, my relatives, my parents, my mom, and all those people, the last hurdle I had to get over to know that I was doing the right thing in transitioning was my faith and with God. And so I call up my pastor, Pastor Brad, California Community Church. Pastor Brad. And I love Pastor Brad. He's great. And I called him up and I said, and this is when the tabloids for 2 or 3 years were just destroying me on a weekly basis. I couldn't go grocery shopping because I walked through the grocery counter and then there's some BS cover shot on the top of People magazine with my face on some woman's body, and they did everything. They were horrible people. And so I called him up, and everybody knew the rumor mill was going on and this and that. I called him up and I said, you got to come over. Okay, I'll come over. We'll come down, sit down. And after a very long conversation, I kind of had a feeling inside me that, you know what, like you say, maybe this is the reason God put me on this earth. At this point in time, at this point in my life, to number one, you cannot do this if you don't know it's the right thing in your soul to do. You have to be comfortable with yourself to be able to do that. And secondly, in doing that, and if I do it the right way, and I take it out of the gutter, which it is right now, okay, and which it's a big problem we have in our community. You got to take it out of that and let's raise it up here. How can we do that so I can bring this issue forward?
Well, let me ask a question. Why do you think it took? I mean, I hope you take this the right way. Why did it take until you were 65? Why did it take? I mean, I know it takes as long as it takes, but
I talk about it extensively, my journey in the book. Yeah. Why did it take 65 years? Good reason. I had a lot of living to do. I say that I had a lot of distractions in my life where I just ran away from my feelings and this from, I guess a good distraction would be going out and winning the Olympic decathlon. Yeah, I guess that would
That's
be
actually
one way
10
to get away
distractions.
and prove your masculinity and about who you are. But then all of a sudden, at the age of 26, you know, I won the games and retired that night. It was over with. And I remember the next morning looking in the mirror, no clothes on, gold medal around my neck, look in the mirror and go, oh my God, what do I do now? But I got into work, I got into family, started raising kids, you know, doing everything I could. And I said at one point, I said, you know, they were a distraction, and they go, oh, you know, like Kendall and Kylie and all the girls go, oh, so that's why we were just a distraction. And I go, no, 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 no. It wasn't you. It was a distraction from who I was. It wasn't you. You I love, and it's wonderful, and I love being a parent. And I love carpool. I love raising my kids, giving them advice, and I'm just so proud of them now. They've all done so extremely well, and they're hardworking kids. But all of that was a distraction from myself. And in the book, I talk a lot about the 80s. The 80s were by far my worst years. From like 1980.
Yeah, I saw your movie.
Yeah.
Just kidding. What was the name of that movie, Caitlyn? Can't Stop
Don't even go there.
Okay. All right.
It was called Can't Stop the Music, which proved they could stop the music. Yeah. Actually, we kind of missed on that one. Actually, from that standpoint, we did a lot of good. I got really high acclaims for a movie called Grambling's White Tiger. It's a true story of the first white football player to go to Grambling College. We produced it, got it done for NBC, got in the top 10 movies of the year. It was really a great project. But Can't Stop the Music, yeah, kind of came in and it left fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But it's like a cult movie, and you can find it online, so I know. It's about disco. Yes, and the Village People. Anyway, how did you get me off on this stuff?
Sorry,
I was going on a point.
You were talking about distractions.
Yeah, so all these things, and there I got to my entire life, raising all my children. I loved raising. I loved being a parent. And then there I was, back out in Malibu, where I literally had been in a house in the 80s for 6 years and never really came out besides to buy food and once in a while to go to work. And I thought to myself, oh my God, here I am. And in a nicer house in Malibu, it's on the beach, it's a nice place, but is this my life? I'm at that time like 63. Is this my life? Am I gonna wind up secluding myself in this house and sneaking around and lying to people to live my life? And I said, I can't do that. I remember when I was younger, and I was training for the games. And I would train 6 to 8 hours a day, every day, 365 days out of the year. And I'd be out there, and I was living on like $10,000 a year, okay? Driving a $175 1963 VW Bug. And my rent was $145 a month, and that was the only payment I had, was $145 a month. All I had to do on top of that is buy food. And I trained. And I would go out there and I'd be running, and you know, I'd run actually in the off season 70 miles a week, and I'd be doing my running and getting it in and this and that, and you have a lot of time to think. And I would think, you know, I see all these other people who are in their middle to mid 20s, and they're out there trying to make it. They're trying to start a business, start a career, move on, build something for the future. Me, I'm out here running, going down an absolute dead-end road, okay? There's nothing at the end besides a medal. True amateurism back there, okay? I wasn't getting paid to do it. I wasn't making any money doing it. And at the end, if I'm really good and train really hard, I get a medal. And it's not even real gold. But there is only one in the world like it. That's the important part. And I get to stand on a stage with great athletes that I had such respect for in the past who had won the Olympic decathlon, like Jim Thorpe and Bob Mathias and Rayford Johnson, Milt Campbell, all these guys before me. I get to stand on it, but that's it.
Well, but also, and it's funny, it was a great accomplishment that in some ways it may have meant more to people who were not you. I mean, America in 1976, I mean, you captured a moment in the country's imagination, in the country's history, And I mean, there's been a lot of athletes who've won gold medals for Olympians, but you know, there was only one you, and there's a reason why that moment, and it was in part it was because of that moment in history, but it was also because of you, and because of there's a certain courage.
I was very fortunate. I happened to be the right person in the right place at the right time at the games in 1976. Actually, 1976 in Montreal, it was the highest rated Olympic Games of all time, by far. I mean, the ratings in 1976 were 3 times higher than the ratings we have today for the Olympics. It was for a lot of reasons. It was the last Olympics before the cable industry came in, so there was only 3 networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS. We only had 3 stations in 1976. HBO, ESPN came in latter 70s, and the cable industry started. Now there's, 300 channels to choose from. It's fractionalized the audience. It was the last amateur Olympics. It came after the terrible tragedy we had in 1972 with the terrorists coming in and killing 11 Israeli athletes in the village in 1972 in Munich. Actually happened in the building right next to me.
Yeah.
That sparked a lot of interest as what's going to happen. It was our bicentennial year. Our country was celebrating 200 years old, and it was 3 weeks after the biggest birthday celebration this country's ever had at 200 years. There was a lot of things going on at the time that made people really watch the games. It was all done live because it was in Canada with a New York time zone. So all of these things went tremendous ratings. And we didn't do very well in track and field. And all of a sudden, I was the one. Roone Arledge spent a lot of time. Not only did I win, I broke the world record at the time. They spent a lot of time, covering that. And bango, there I was.
And bango, there she was.
There I was.
Well, there you were.
40 years later, still milking it, baby.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but
no,
if
I'm just kidding.
So it's this wonderful accomplishment, but yet it's also a moment of emptiness for you. And you describe the distractions in your life, or the events that, maybe I shouldn't say distraction, but things that kept you from
dealing with
embarking
myself.
on the journey.
Yeah.
If you had not met Kris Kardashian and gotten married, do you think you would have transitioned earlier?
I couldn't do it at the time. I made the decision. I
yeah,
just
but if
couldn't
you hadn't met her, let's say that's a turn that never happened in your life, and
at the time in 1989, when I thought I would transition before 1990, I just couldn't do it. I had been on hormones for 4.5 years. I had all my electrolysis done. I had all these things that I tried just to make me feel better about myself. But I just couldn't go any further. Within society, it wasn't the right time. I can't tell you that it wouldn't be 1998 that I would do it. Maybe 8 years later, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I wasn't planning on it. I thought, I just have to get back to life. I got to play Bruce, and I met Kris, and we hit it off from day one. I was honest with her. I'm sure I downplayed it, but I was honest with her about, I had to be. I'd been on hormones for 4.5 years before that.
Yeah.
And as you know, there are some effects that go on.
there are some
Yes,
effects.
there are. So there are some effects. So
Well, we might as well hover on that for a moment, because Kris is on record as taking issue with some of the narrative.
she is? No.
So what's your
Say it ain't so.
what's your response to that?
Don't do this to me. I say so many nice things about Kris in that book.
You do.
Oh, yeah, I do. Thank you. You read it.
I did.
And I say a lot of nice things.
Indeed.
Didn't take it away when you read it, because you're an outsider. You didn't take away, say, oh my God, I just nailed her.
No, I didn't think. I thought it was generous, but I'm also aware that she's now saying that things are not true.
Yes, but she's saying on a reality show that has a lot of drama in it.
Wait a minute, you're saying, wait, I thought that was all completely real.
I guess it's real in her heart. No, it is on that. But no, it's not just that.
Yeah.
Actually, it's disappointing. I wish she hadn't have gone there. It just didn't need to be on television if there's any problems with her in the book. She called it, it's all made up. No, it isn't. That's all, and I have enough people around me.
It turns out you actually are trans. I can
yes,
verify.
But even when I married her and this and that, I never thought, even when Chris and I were going our separate directions like 4 years ago, I never thought I would be able to transition. No, not in a million years. I just needed to get out of that environment that I was in. I needed my freedom. Yes, and we weren't getting along. We're both kind of at each other. And it was a mutual decision. We both said, she went out and found the house for me. You know, she went to Malibu.
That's kind of a message.
I'm going to, yeah.
That's kind of, you know.
Yeah. Well, I
when
was
your
going to go look.
spouse buys you another house.
No,
By the way.
I was going to go look for a place, and she goes, no, let me look, and I'll see what's available and what's out there. So I said, okay, no problem. And then she got it down to like 2 houses, called me up, and I went to the first one, and I thought, because I wanted a house that was private, because I needed privacy. And
let's use our imaginations.
Yeah. And then the other one was actually much more private. And so, I said, I like that one. And she goes, okay. We leased the house only for like a year and a half. And I remember we took possession of it June 1st, which was about a month away. And she told me, and you know, I love her for doing it. She wanted to have a nice home for me to be in. She, over that month, worked really hard. And the day we took it, on June 1st, at like 8 o'clock in the morning, she goes, I cannot come over until that night, and she'll call me. So I came over that night, and a completely empty house was fully furnished. Every TV was working. It was, she had like 50 people there, truck after truck after truck coming in. She's so well organized. I mean, I give her a lot of credit.
Well, that's one word for it.
Yeah. And I walked in at 10 o'clock that night. The dryer even worked. Everything worked. The house
but
was
none of it was
perfect.
But none of it was your stuff. I mean,
I got it in the divorce. No, she actually bought all new stuff. She had
but I mean, she bought the stuff. Well, anyway.
Well, she bought the stuff.
I'm not trying to rake you through the marriage.
No, I know. No, but she, she has very good taste.
Well, yeah.
And she actually worked a deal with Restoration Hardware, and she loves that stuff, and I do too. And it's very comfortable and very nice.
Our conversation today brought to you by Restoration Hardware.
Yeah, thank you. And she does a lot of business with them, and so I'm sure she got. I didn't look to see what it was costing. Yeah. But anyway, it was a very nice thought of hers. Here you are putting her down, but it's her thought, and so I appreciate that. So sometimes there are differences of opinion when something happens, and I have my opinion, she has yours. She can go write her own book.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Maybe that'll happen.
Yeah. I want to ask you.
But it wouldn't be as juicy as mine.
Well, I guess
my story.
I guess we'll find out. I want to ask. I remember, speaking of Kardashians, when we were doing the show, I remember the docu-series I Am Cait. I remember your daughter Kim had a piece of advice that she gave you that's always stuck in my head. And she said, and tell me if I have this right. This is just from memory. After you came out to her, she said something like, "You have to work it every day."
Rock it.
Rock it. You have to rock it every day. So.
Okay.
Was that good advice?
Actually, yes.
And what did she mean by that? You have to rock it every day.
Well, when I first told her, probably 2 or 3 years earlier, Kim was actually the first one I talked to about this, besides my sister Pam. But she was the first one in the immediate family. Now, everybody kind of knew. Actually, Kim caught me one time.
Yeah. I mean, she's got a book.
Yeah. And everybody knew, and you walk down the grocery store line, and there's my picture, with all sorts of crap over it. So my kids,
I remember
they knew that they knew something was going on, but it was the little ugly story that nobody would talk about. So finally, 2 or 3 years earlier, she, you know, we were in the kitchen or something. She goes, "What the hell's going on with you?" You know.
Yeah.
And I go, well, and at this point, I just wanted to talk to people. I'm sick and tired of not just hiding all this stuff inside. And she had her own home at the time. And I said, "I'll tell you what, your house is quiet, nobody's there. I'll come over and I'll tell you everything." She goes, "Okay." So I go over there. I tell her my story. I tell her what I've been dealing with. She was very nice, open-minded. But then, and every time, and as you know, every time you tell your story to somebody, it's like taking all that weight off your shoulders. This one person I don't have to lie to anymore.
Right.
You know? And it's just, you get a smile on your face and think, okay.
Yeah, but
one less person. But then she never talked about it again for the next 2 or 3 years. And of course, then in your mind, as you know, you go, "Oh my God, does she think I'm a freak? Why won't she even talk about it? And I don't want to bring the subject up again." She never, you know. And so all these things are going through your head. Then finally, eventually, years later, I finally decided, you know what? And I went through everybody. I'm finally going to do this. And I took each kid, all 10 of them, and I brought them one at a time over to my house. I didn't want to get them together because I didn't want it to gang up on me.
well, there are 10 of them, so.
Yes. So it was a lot of work. The first one I brought was Brandon, and Brandon was great. Brandon is I don't know if you know my son. Do you ever go on YouTube and watch Brandon and Leah? My son, he's got a band, he sings, he writes music. Brandon and Leah, they just are so good, so talented. They don't work it very hard in the music industry, but they're just so good. They write all their own stuff. They're great. Go check them out, Brandon and Leah. But I go over to Brandon because I figure he's my little Gandhi in the family. This one's going to be easy. And I sit him down and I tell him, because he already knew, his mother had told him, but nobody would talk to me. So Brandon goes to me. He goes, "Dad?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "I have always been very proud to be your son." He goes, "If I go to the airport and I hand them my ID and they see Brandon Jenner, they always go, 'Oh, is Bruce Jenner your father?' And he'd go, 'Yes.' And they go, the people behind the counter, 'Oh, Bruce comes through here all the time and he's so nice and sweet and, you know, what a great dad,' and this and that." And he said, "It'll always make me feel very proud to be your son." He goes, "But I've never been more proud of you than I am right now." And I'll start crying again.
Well, that
it was a very emotional moment. I felt right then that I'll be okay. And I slowly, because I started there, I figured he'd be the good one, and he was. And then slowly go through each child one at a time. When I got to Kim, and she had already known the story, but she doesn't know now the rest of the story. I got to Kim, and we sat down, and I said, "You know what? I'm going through with this. I just cannot take it any longer." And she goes, "Oh my God, you are?" When I told my sister goes, "Oh my God, what are my girlfriends going to say?" I went, "I'm not worried about your girlfriends, okay?" Sorry. But I think everybody within the family wondered, "Oh my God, how can you do this?"
Well, that advice though about, I'm pulling you back to this, you've got a rocket. The reason I want to ask you about that is
oh, I know, yeah.
Well, so I mean,
that was Kim's advice.
I mean, I think of your daughters obviously as kind of titans of fashion and style. And
as Kim said
grace.
to me one time, okay, and I asked her some fashion question or whatever it is, and she goes to me and looks at me. She goes, "You have to realize, I am fashion."
Well,
I thought it was pretty funny, but when you think about it, she kind of is. What she wears,
if
you know,
that
over the
was
last
my
10
daughter, I would
years
have slapped
is going to
her.
have an impact. What?
I said, if that was my daughter, I would have slapped her.
No,
I
my
am
God.
fashion. I am fashion. No,
Yeah,
it's like
a joke. She didn't like me to.
No,
it was a blind.
But she was serious when she said you have to rock it. And what
well, she was, and so the next thing that evening when I was talking to her, and I said I'm going to do it. The first thing she goes, first of all, she goes, oh my God, then what's your name?
Thank you.
And I go, yeah. And I go, well, it's going to be Caitlyn. She goes, oh, thank God you stayed with the K's. And I go, no, it's with a C. And she goes, oh, really? I had to get a little distance there from the family.
Yeah, I remember being really happy when I learned that you were
Yeah,
spelling
it
with a
was
C.
Caitlyn with a C. And then she says, well, if you do it, you got to rock it. I mean, you got to take this seriously. You got to look good. That was good advice, but
does it put too much
but I
pressure
know
on
within
you?
the community, within the community, and you in particular, yes, you, I get my picture taken every day, okay? The paparazzis are out there literally every day. I go get coffee, I get my picture taken. I go to the golf course.
Do you think if you looked crappier,
Do you
they'd
know
stop taking your picture?
You know how many pictures? What's that?
I said, if you looked crappier, maybe they'd stop taking your picture.
No, that would be the story. I had one time, and they're looking for that bad shot. I will never walk out of Starbucks because, and usually I get a little straw that I put in top, not to sip the coffee, but just because if I'm driving around the car, it doesn't spill out, you know. So, and then I sip out of the straw. But I'll never take a hit on the coffee while I'm walking out of Starbucks. Why?
Yeah.
Because then that will be the story. You'll see me,
Yeah.
you know, goggling it down, and then that'll be all over that'll be in 15 minutes, it'll be in Germany.
Yeah.
You know? So I have to be very careful. So I never do it, okay? So the other day, I was coming out of Starbucks last week. I go play golf in the afternoon if I'm not working, and then I go to this little Starbucks, and I got about a 20-minute drive over the hill to my house. And so I stop there, get a little latte, and then sip on it on the way home. And so and I walk out, and I don't know if the paparazzis are there, so I'm checking the parking lot out to see where they're at. I didn't see anybody. And so I thought, okay, I could take a sip. Take a little sip. Walk over to the car, and just before I get in the car, I look over, and there is a paparazzi in there, okay? And he's not only on the other side of the car, he's shooting from the far side of the car through both windows that are open, through both windows, and get a shot of me. And I thought, oh, they got a picture of me sipping on my coffee.
But does that mean that the world has
The
to
next
end?
day, there it was in the Daily Mail, you know, from London, you know, me sipping on my coffee.
The reason, and we have some wonderful questions from the
Oh,
audience.
good. Let's go to the questions.
I guess I just feel like there was a lot of pressure on you, and it was really, in some ways, unfair.
You didn't teach me right. I blame this on you.
Always me.
Again, it's Jenny Boylan. I got in trouble for that because I do try to take my appearance seriously. And I made a statement a long time ago. Boy, did I correct it. I said, yeah, my appearance is important. I wanted to feel good about myself, but I didn't want to really look like a man in a dress. And I said it of my own personal taste. And boy, did the community come down on me.
Do you understand why they did that?
Yes, I do understand why now. But at the time, I thought it was very innocent.
Yeah.
And then the media goes crazy on that. You know, Caitlyn doesn't want to look like a man in a dress. When there are so many people in our community that have a hard time conforming.
Yeah.
And I realized that at that time, now I realize that. And I, you know, brought that back. I mean, we're all who are suffering with gender identity issues, we're all in this boat together. Some people are very happy to be out there as
invisible,
you know, kind of,
yeah. I guess what I mean is there any way, I mean now, so looking back 2 years from when you came out, was there any way that it could have been easier for you? I just think that there was so much pressure on you, there was so much of an expectation that you would be the kind of instant Jackie Robinson of the movement, that you would be perfect in every moment, and that some of that pressure I think you also put on yourself because of the family that you're from, because of wanting to rock it all the time. And was there any? I mean, I know that they take your picture, you know, when you're at Starbucks. Is this just how it was going to be for you, given the fact that you were?
I don't
this
see it
American
changing.
icon? Was there anything that you could have done differently?
Oh, there sure is a lot of things I could have done differently. But I look now, I wouldn't have done anything differently. All the mistakes I learned from, if I got pounded by the community, I said, okay, well, maybe I should really seriously think about that and change the way I word something, change the way I do something. So those were all learning situations. Yeah, nobody's perfect. I'm not
yeah,
perfect.
it does make me think, to
You know,
people.
I'm not like you. I'm not perfect in any way. You know?
Yeah, well, guess what? There was, I wasn't Jenny Boylan when I started either.
You know what? I don't even know.
I
don't even know your old name.
And shall we keep it that way?
No, I really don't want to.
You know what was my name? I changed my last name. My name was Mark Spitz. Now you know. And I think I got like 10 medals.
No, it was 7.
Oh shit. Hey, let's get to some of these.
That was very good. That was a good comeback.
Oh my God. Let's get to some of these.
That's why you're my favorite English teacher.
Oh my God. You're my favorite.
Is your book that creative?
You mean the new book?
The new book? Yeah, you got another book out.
I've got another book out. She remembered. Yeah, Long Black Veil, which is also out this. I had this whole conversation with my publisher. Do you think it's a good idea to publish it like the same week as Caitlyn's book? They said, oh no, people won't pay any attention to Caitlyn's book. Are you kidding? So.
Well, I wish you the best.
Yeah, it's a novel.
But I'm going to destroy you. No.
Yeah. Ow.
No, but I'll come out and promote your book anytime.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm promoting yours right now.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I know.
Long Black Veil is a novel of suspense, and it begins when 6 friends from college are accidentally locked inside an abandoned
prison. Is this your first fiction book?
First novel in 20 years.
A novel.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these students get locked inside this old prison, and then they find that behind those walls they are not alone. Ooh. But also,
are there any kind of gender non-conforming people in it?
Well, it's a novel of suspense, so no spoilers, but people familiar with my work and your work will not be shocked to learn that some of the characters struggle with identity.
Struggle with their identity,
Yeah,
which is okay, I got it, all right.
Hey, let's get to some of these
Let's
questions.
get to the questions.
Let's see, how about this one? When you were a child and dreamed, were you a boy or a girl? And what do you dream as now? This is from Susan Gottlieb, asked this question.
You know what, I thought about that, because people would ask me, and I would think about it. When I was growing up, and this and that, I dreamed primarily as Bruce. But every once in a while, at that time I didn't know what her name was eventually going to be, I dreamed about my struggle, okay? I dreamed about all the things that I was going through, but I never really was her. But I dreamed about her struggle of being afraid that, I was going to get caught or, shopping or whatever it may be as her. I did that. Pretty much now I'm all her, so I dream that way. Yeah, all that other stuff's kind of gone.
Do you dream, well, that's worth applause, yeah. Let's see. Well, we might as well get to this one. Heidi, Salgo, I think is the name, asks, if President Trump offered you a position to represent your community on a government level, would you take it? Yeah, I didn't even read it. I didn't make it up.
No, I think you know what? That is a legitimate question. I certainly have always been on the Republican side. I believe in simple things like the Constitution and limited government and, those types of things.
A round of applause for the Constitution.
Yes, absolutely. A round of applause for our Constitution. It made this country. And I think those are very important documents. And so, yes, I lean towards the Republican Party because they are closer, certainly, than Democrats to, staying at limited government, although I've been very disappointed with them over the last few years. And so I've thought about, because I've done some speaking over the years, over the last 30 years and at Republican events, and every time I do that, everybody comes up and says, oh my God, because I've been speaking forever, oh my God, you should run for office. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, right, I want to run for office, okay? And I was thinking, I got way too many skeletons in my closet, man. They'd have some reporter digging into me and I would be dead. I wouldn't have a chance that I got all this stuff in my head, sneaking around doing this and that. I said, they would destroy me. There's no way I could do it. Now I got no more secrets.
Is there anything you'd like to announce tonight?
Yeah. Well, I just announced it on CNN a minute ago. No, I didn't.
Scooped again.
CNN. I am in the future going to look. I want, because my loyalties are not with the Republican Party. My loyalties are not with Donald Trump. I'll come after him and come after Republicans as they start screwing up with my community. Okay? And I got a voice. I got a voice, and they better listen. Okay? Because I will come after them. And so I look over the next year or two, I would look in where can I be more effective to helping my community. Am I going to be more effective on the outside, raising money for my foundation, doing things, being places, being a spokesperson, being critical of the Republican Party if they screw up, being critical of Trump if he screws up when it comes to my community? Or at some point, would I be better working from the inside? And if that is the case in another year or two, I would seriously look at a run. Yeah, I would. And so...
You heard it first right here, folks.
Yeah, I would seriously look at something. It just depends where I could be more effective. I've already had people come up and say they back you and do this and that. They would love to see me do it. So
the thing I was thinking about when you were talking about what you were saying before, you couldn't run because of all
the secrets.
The secrets. The
now in the book, I've got no more.
Yeah. So the name of the book is the secrets of my life
and my political ambitions.
And
just kidding. Just kidding.
Well,
yeah.
I've said before that at least in my own case. The biggest difference was not going from male to female. It was going from someone who lived a life that was defined by its secrets to someone who is living a life without secrets.
Yes, I totally agree.
How has that been for you? Is it possible to separate the life that you live now? Is it possible to separate the being female part of it from just the part of it that's you don't have secrets. You don't have...
It's a wonderful, wonderful way to go through life.
It's amazing, right?
Without any secrets. Everybody's got stuff. Everybody's got things that in their head that they're dealing with. It doesn't have to be gender. It's anything. Sexual orientation, family issues, insecurity issues. Everybody's got stuff. My book is about my stuff. It's a very personal, intimate look of my stuff and all the things that I had to have to deal with. And that journey through 65 years to eventually getting to the point where I had to deal with my stuff, do what I had to do, in this case, transition, live my life authentically. I just couldn't go anymore. It was time for her to live. It's time to take little Bruce, put him inside, and let her go. Let's see what this broad can do. Okay? Can she make a dent in the world? Can she make a difference in the world? And what a great opportunity as a human being to be playing life in the fourth quarter and have an opportunity to make a difference, not just here, but around the world, and bring a very marginalized community forward and into the sunlight instead of being in the shadows.
You're here.
So that was my mission, and it's been quite a road, and I'm a long ways from, getting to where I want to get. I was talking with with Don over at CNN today, and I was looking and watching the weather the other day on Good Morning America, and they had Sam Champion on. You know, been doing the weather here, ABC, forever and ever and ever. And they were standing there talking. Sam Champion's been on for the weather for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. It seems like I've seen him there. And they were doing the little roundtable discussion before I ran off to do the weather, and they were talking about, he was talking about him and his husband. And everybody at the table was like, oh, no big deal, you know. And I'm sitting there watching that, and I'm thinking, wait a second. I bet you 20, 25, 30 years ago, when he started in the weather business, he had to keep his mouth shut about he was gay.
Yeah.
Okay? It just would not bring it up. And to see how far the gay movement has come in acceptance and being able to be on camera talking about his husband.
Yeah.
Okay? That is, within humankind and history, that's like a millisecond that people's attitude has changed, everything. I would like that for the trans community. I would like to take this very marginalized community that has been hiding in the shadows, not you. You ain't been hiding nowhere, girl. And take that forward, and hopefully somewhat in my lifetime, probably won't happen in my lifetime, but at some point, just make it normal. You know, it's part of humanity. It's part of society. It's been around forever, identity, your identity and who you are. And normalize it to the point where it's just not that big a deal anymore.
Right.
You know, and I hope we can get there.
There's the thing I want to share with you when you were talking about.
You wrote a book, right?
I wrote several books.
Oh, that's
But
right.
I've never-
This is a recent one.
Well, the new one. Well, in fact.
Oh, did you do that? I'm sorry. Yeah.
She's merciless, isn't she?
Yeah, I know.
But I love her.
I know.
This is, in fact, this is a thing that's actually in the new book. But it's
Oh,
a thing,
good, okay.
But it's a thing that I think you can. I hope you'll feel free to use this. It's a. So one of the things that happened to me in the last
I steal
year,
all your stuff.
unfortunately. Well, good.
Of course.
One
You
of
steal
the-
my stuff.
Okay. One of the things that. One of the bad things that happened to me in the last year is I've lost a great deal of my hearing. So I'm starting to learn ASL. And here's the thing I learned. 10 years ago, the sign for transgender was this, which is, this is the word, the sign for sex. And it would be, you take sex and turn it around, like, rah, rah. And that was our understanding of transgender people, like that. Here's the new sign. So I'll do it real slowly. So
Growing boobs?
there's well, it's a flower, Caitlyn.
Oh, it's a flower.
Wait, go like this. So everybody do this. Make a flower, and the petals are facing down, and put it over your left chest.
What if I'm right-handed? Can I still do it that way?
You can do it. You can do it with
Okay, I'll go. Yeah.
And okay, so it's like this. Now, as it comes out, rotate it towards the ceiling and open the petals like this. Okay, and now it can go back in your heart, facing the right way. Okay, do it real fast. Ready? So what I think when you're talking about
that.
Bruce, it was time for Bruce to go in and Caitlyn to come out.
Right.
It makes me think that transgender people do this thing that all of us go through, where whether you're trans or whatever you are, you're talking about stuff. We all have stuff. We have stuff that's in our hearts. English teacher talking. It's a flower that's in your heart that cannot bloom because it's trapped inside. It comes out like this. It sees the light of day. It walks around. There are no more secrets in my life.
I like that one.
And it goes back in like that. And then you can be yourself. And that's true whether you're trans or whatever kind of human you are. I think that's true. Well, gee, this has been real
It was
fun.
fun.
I want to thank you, Caitlyn, for everything that you've contributed.
And is your book actually out? Do I get a free copy on my way
You'll get a
out?
free copy. So in fact, it works like this. Both of our books are for sale out there in the book. I guess there's a book buying area over just outside the main door here. And Caitlyn's are signed, but if you buy a copy of Caitlyn's book, you can have a photograph of her taken. And if you buy a copy of my book, you can get a photograph, and I'll sign it.
Oh, this is the parts I signed? Or the books that I signed?
Your books are signed.
Oh, wow.
So,
Please,
yeah.
get the book. Okay. They call up and they say, we would love for you to sign, and they send just the piece of paper. Okay? And then when they make the book, they insert it into the book. And so I said, sure, I'll sign them. Well, all of a sudden, one day I go to the front door, and there's boxes like this high. And I go, huh? I said, what is this? I didn't even know what it was. I opened it up, and I pulled the page. 10,000 signatures, okay? And I go to my assistant, I got to sign 10,000 times for a whole month of like January. It started in December, right after Christmas, and it took me a good 5 weeks. I was sitting there on New Year's Eve, all by myself in my house with my little computer on my lap. I got the ball coming down, and I'm signing. And I kept sending Buzz pictures and numbering them. And then finally, I've got a picture of literally about 5 or 6 stacks this high of paper.
So what was harder, 10,000 signatures or the Olympics?
Signatures.
He's thinking.
I knew what I was doing at the games, yeah.
Thanks very much. Caitlyn Jenner.
Thank you.